Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you're new to this, my second channel, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the live Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they're live. There's also a PayPal and crypto link in the info box below the video. Most importantly though, if you would like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the shape of the Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcomed back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter. And one last time, if you're new to this, my second channel, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the live Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by Zinda, SX, Sleeping Warrior, Red Hen, which I think is Travis, Pete Shea, Paul, Daniel, Chocolate Saying, and Arwin. Good to have you all.
Oh, thank you very much.
Good afternoon.
Morning.
Morning, Nathan.
Hey,
I got a comment about that last discussion.
Hello. What?
Someone's keen to get straight back into it.
No, please, no, please. Please
Okay,
no.
I won't. But I had a good comment that might just dismantle it, but we can wait for later.
Go ahead, Daniel. Mike's all yours.
Go for it, man. Go for
Paul, rather. My bad.
That
Paul.
was Paul, yeah.
If he wants to prove that you guys or any of us are paid anything, then he has to prove that we are actually on payroll, a means of which how we've gotten paid, which means some kind of transaction that have occurred. If he can't prove that, then he has no proof at all. It's like, the whole flat Earth debate is they can't show us curvature. That's our argument. There's no curvature, but they can't show it. So it really comes down to that.
That's exactly the point. That's all we're asking him.
Yeah,
And
and not only that, but when you make accusations the level that Pete's making, you're going to solidify your accusation yourself. You're gonna back it up so that you have the ammunition you need. So the fact that he didn't come prepared to present that material is not the point. The point is, do you have proof? And the answer is no. He doesn't have any.
And you would think somebody who speaks upon this subject.
Or whatever, but I have heard people say this before, lots of times.
Right, but you would think that somebody who speaks upon this subject as often as he does would have, a compilation of proof somewhere on Smash, so he could just say,
right.
hey, look,
Eric,
2
exactly.
seconds. The same way we ask people for the proof of the globe, and they can't provide it in 2 seconds. They stutter around. They don't know what the hell to say because they can't provide it because it's not a globe. So it's the same way with this guy.
Okay, let me respond. Eric Dubay,
just before you do, I'm really sorry to interrupt you immediately, Pete, but just for a summary of the audience, if you didn't watch the last show, so Pete was challenged to provide a single shred of evidence for his continual claims that people are paid agents. The words specifically used on the last show were put in place, and he was challenged to provide some evidence, and he had absolutely none to provide. So just so the audience are up to date with precisely what we are talking about.
Okay, that's fine. Thanks for interrupting me there when I was responding,
Sorry.
Nathan, whereas you give other people the mic and the
Sorry,
floor.
I do have a show to run. My bad.
Yeah, okay, I accept your apology, no problem. So all I was going to say there is one of the main men in Flat Earth inquiry is Eric Dubay. If you go to his IFERS channel, he has a whole thread dedicated to people who are shills and actors and agents put in place. If you want evidence, go seek it out yourself. I told you I made that as a sort of a throwaway comment. And Nathan pulled me up in it immediately. I didn't want to get into it myself. Here I am, backed into some sort of a corner again, which I can defend my corner, but here's not the place for it. That's all.
Yeah, but you can't defend it without evidence, P. That's
right.
The
as I said, if something like the threads, Eric Dubé and his channel, and lots of other videos and people who are into exposing frauds have brought forth this evidence, Anthony. It's not for me to present them here, right? I would be presenting
the assertion, though. You understand that he who asserts must prove, right?
Right. Right.
You're
to
making
whom, though? To whom? To what's your position? What is your position? Can I? I'm speaking.
I'm not making any assertion.
Right. You see, I'm a real man here. So when I'm speaking to one person, I'm speaking.
So
to
you're not going to address the point. The point is that you don't have evidence.
Hang on. Okay, listen to me. When I'm speaking to you, Anthony, I'm not inside in a courtroom speaking across the partition or something against an opponent, right? I want to know your
how
position.
It goes down in here, man.
No, I want to leave this behind after this. I want to know your position, Anthony, or I want to know anyone else's position. Have you done the necessary research into the possibility that people are put in place?
No.
Right, thank you. Say no more.
But
say no more.
I'm not the one asserting that there's people getting paid.
Fair enough, fair enough. So can we move on now, please?
No.
Well, no, because a concession is required. You said that you didn't want to have this conversation, yet you've made the assertion that you've been called on and you won't concede.
So you're telling me that you don't think the likes of Rumpus, faceless, nameless Rumpus, isn't put in place? These people are military men.
It may be.
So who put him in place,
Paper
Pete?
Explanator. Hang on.
Who put him in place, Pete? What's the proof?
Mark Taylor.
Who
Rich Mack. These are all military men. There's a military connection. Baz.
You have a lot of fantasies there, Pete.
Hang on, Arwen. I spoke to
the
all of these
entire
people.
world is a giant military operation to try to.
Listen, all I'm saying to you is,
do you think that?
I've spoken to these people, right, in Discord, in other hangouts.
Yeah, you're not very good judge of character, Pete.
I know they're all snakes in the grass. Paper Explanator faked having cancer because I called him out as being an actor. He was playing a different role.
Pete, listen, Pete. My position is that I agree with you that there probably are paid people within this movement, this issue, right? That doesn't mean that there are, and it doesn't mean that I would assert it because I have no evidence to prove it. It's just an opinion.
So what will you do with it then?
What?
What will you do with it?
What would I do? Nothing.
What will you do with that opinion, Anthony?
Nothing. I have no evidence to support it.
So will you continue to deal with Rumpus? You'll continue to deal with conspiracy cats, even though your opinion is very solid that these little shits are put in place. These little shits are the ones, the little fucking minions that are in place to carry the lie against us and our children. But you'll just go, because I can't prove it, I'll deal with him with kid gloves.
Yeah, but listen, there's a difference between what I think and what I believe I can prove. If I have some evidence that supports a position, right, then we calculate how strong the evidence is, and then you make your own mind up. But in this case, you don't have any evidence, and you're expecting us to just agree with you.
Are you for real? Are you telling me I couldn't present reams of evidence to circumstantial evidence, but to suggest that Mark Sargent or Patricia Steer, Mr. and Mrs. Flat Earth aren't put in place, and many others?
I think you would have already if you could have.
Bring it
on. You would have already. Stop
making these.
You would have made a video. You would have made yourself famous already.
I'm not interested.
You would have already disproven all the shit already. So.
Listen, man.
I don't know what you're waiting for. Just
Chocolate, you're a 9/11 witness who never looked into the possibility that there was no victims and that 9/11 was a media hoax, which I know Nathan holds that position.
Pete,
right?
Or
so
other people talk. Pete,
you have
Pete,
I've
got to kick you out sooner or later if you run to hang out.
I have a question.
You're ridiculous.
Can't hear anything.
These are media.
Oh my god! Why does it always go back to 9/11? This is
hold on a second, Chocolate. I need
You're
to
a witness to 9/11.
Pete, I've got to kick you out if you can't keep your mouth shut. You're controlling this hangout, and it's my show. Pete, I need other people to get a gap to respond to you. So can you let Chocolate actually say enough for me to hear what he says?
Sure.
Go ahead, Chocolate.
Pete, we're just asking you to provide evidence. And if you can't do so, just say you can't do so. And we can move on the way you asked. But the problem is you keep going back and forth between 9/11 and all this other bullshit. And all people want to hear you say is you don't have the evidence. Because if you did, you would have had it already. You would have had it presented. You would have made a video. You want to accuse Mark Sargent and Patricia Steer and all these people of being agents. Why don't you just make a video and present it? I don't understand.
Okay.
You've been saying this for so long. Why don't if
Let me respond.
you want people to take you seriously?
Let me
just
respond.
present what you got. I'm not trying to beef with you.
Okay,
I'm not trying to argue with you. Just present it.
Okay, I get your point.
Let's
Let me respond. Now, so you're not to face this one. Have you been on camera, Chocolate?
This is not about me.
Okay, you haven't. That's fair enough. So
This is about
from my
your
own point of
evidence.
view,
No, I have not been
I
on
understand.
camera, no.
Okay, I understand. Just from my own point of view, I'm dealing with another faceless, nameless guy again. So right, fair enough. Do you know what I could do? I could present a link. Well, I actually do that. I present a link to where evidence is amassed. Evidence is collated for all of these things for you. How about that? Is that fair enough?
You know something, Pete? You remind me of the ballers in the way you argue. So what you've just said is, I could, future tense, provide a whole stack of evidence. That sounds just like a baller line for a demolition of a globe argument. That's what they would say. I could go forth and get loads of evidence.
No, I'll do it, Nathan. And you'll have to eat your words now. And let's see if you have a bit of humility. Again, I just mentioned it. I will point you to IFERS, Eric Dubé. Excuse me, I'm in the middle of answering. I will point you to IFERS.
I've pointed out that, like a baller, you've claimed that you could, future tense, go away and get a whole stack of evidence, even though, as Chocolate has just pointed out, you've been claiming this for months, if not years, with no evidence. So you could. You haven't, even though you've been doing it for several years. In the case of the Globeheads, they've made this assertion for, according to their history timeline, 2,000 years. And they still, in 2018, need to say, oh, we could go forth and get evidence for our assertions. And that's what you're doing. And then you double down and say, yeah, I could. I'm going to. I'll show you when I come in future with evidence for this thing I've claimed multiple times over a long timeline.
Okay, so we know that the spinning ball is nonsense, right? So that's our position. So your position is that there are no people put in place, right, Nathan? Now,
no, when I didn't make that claim. So now he's strawmanning me. So now strawmanning me. I'm gonna have to, Pete. I'm getting tired of this, Pete. I will get to talk on my own show. So I'm getting tired of it. Yeah, okay. This is your last chance. I'm trying to warn you that if you keep talking over me, I'm going to kick you out. So Pete,
hear it when you talk.
Yeah, here we go again. This is your final warning. When I pause, you don't immediately talk because you assume I've finished, basically indicating that you're just waiting for your chance to have verbal diarrhea for the next 2 minutes. So Pete, my point is ignored again. Chocolate's made the same point, and it's been ignored again. You're continually circle-jerking us around with nonsense about a different subject, not providing any evidence, and certainly not conceding that you don't have any evidence for your assertion, which you're now saying you could provide evidence for in future. So I'd like you to actually address what I've said, and I'll repeat it now, before you interrupt me. I am stating that you are now claiming you could get evidence, in spite of Chocolate's assertion that you've made this claim for years with no evidence.
Okay, so in the chat here, I hope you post this in the main chat, Nathan. And this should satisfy you and shut you up.
Do you want to bring it up? Do you want to present it?
There it is. I posted in chat.
Yeah, do you want to present it?
It's a
too much to present.
Of the internet.
Yes, please. Can you present it?
International Flat Earth Research Society.
You know Eric Dubé. What do you think of Eric Dubé, Arwen?
Oh, now he's talking to Arwen. You've just stuck. This is like a typical Glober tactic. Typical Glober.
He just talked to me. For God's sake, he just talked to me.
Yeah, so you've just presented some evidence, and rather than presenting it, you're asking me to present it. Is that correct?
No. What I'm asking you to do is to post that link.
I'm presenting
in the main chat.
That's so you are asking me to present it, or someone else to present your evidence, rather than you presenting it. We had the similar thing with Alan yesterday. Literally, same circumstance. He's got something, but he won't put it on screen. It'll only post a link for someone else to put on screen. Why would that be? Why would it be that you're using the exact same technique as the ballers?
Okay, well, the reason why it would be out of the question to go into detail here is because there's so many different threads and there's so much information collected on the people who are suspected of being shills, agents, actors, etc.
Sorry, is this
So all I'm
gonna
asking
be...
you to do
Sorry,
is, in your own
suspected.
time, Nathan, go
Stop.
through that link.
Stop. Suspected? Are you really this dumb? I said prove it, and you're going to give me a list of suspected shills? Like I give two craps about anybody else's suspicion. What, do you think that by having multiple people suspecting and fantasizing some nonsense with no proof...
I have a real quick question. Is this your primary evidence, or is this hearsay that you're presenting? Are you presenting someone else's material?
You asked for evidence. This is evidence collated.
Pete,
You can take it from
answer my question.
No, it's not mine. It's not mine. I've gathered my own evidence, but I already know.
Oh,
Okay.
so you have other evidence, but you're not presenting that either.
Yes,
You know,
I-
there's somebody else that follows that same kind of behavioral pattern. He's
Arwen,
called
I carry my
Rumpus.
brain around with me.
He's called Rumpus.
I carry my brain around with me, Arwen. I'm not just a new fellow wet behind the ears here, right?
No, I think you're an MI5 agent and you're put in place to muddy the waters of 9/11 truth. Pete.
Providing evidence that you don't for years, apparently.
So I just posted a link here in chat. Will you go through that link,
but you
Arwen?
just said
Chocolate
that's
Sage.
not your evidence. You have your own evidence, but you're not going to present that, right?
I
Okay.
want you to present it, Pete. It's your claim, your evidence. I want you to put it on screen and tell us what it is.
Okay, give me 2 minutes of your time then, right? Give
No
me 2
worries.
minutes of your time. This is what I think is going on.
We've given you an hour of our time, bro.
I didn't want to talk about any of this stuff, plain truth.
Well, it needed to happen
see.
because you're again.
I
You want
wanna
to
hear what he
continue.
wants to
You
talk
want to
about.
continue saying this shit all the time.
This shit. So your position is
People are
there's no one
fucking tired of it, and you have no evidence, and people are tired of it. So shut everybody
So-
up and show us what you got. If not, then stop calling people agents. Stop saying you know you got all the clues. Just stop already, bro. And
Man, you're
can we
just a
talk about
faceless-
black?
You're a faceless whatever. What? Don't tell me to do anything.
Faceless.
Go on camera. Be a man. Come on camera. At least I respect.
Well, we have the camera nonsense. Shout out to Pilton Pop for the super chat. Says, "How's a Christmas drink on me?" Thank you very much. I will do exactly that.
It's like as if this is all new to you. It's like as if I'm the only one here.
Yeah,
Who, this is all Derek DeBay
World,
stuff.
Pete. It's a
See,
brand new world.
I'm going to speculate.
Where it's all
Pete,
collected and collated.
It's a brand new world where we're actually asking you
Listen.
for evidence of your claim. So
Okay,
if
let's.
you have any, please present it. Because I would
Most
love to
people
see
missed
it.
the real
Pete,
truth.
I'm being honest with you, Pete. I would love to see it if you have it.
Right, man. There's a link in chat
I'd
here.
be
Chocolate.
intrigued if you actually had evidence of what you're saying. I would actually
Right.
be intrigued. I would not discard it,
So there's a link in
right?
chat
Because
here, right? There's a
I'm
link in
not that
chat.
type of dude. So
Yeah, you keep talking when I get the bones of what you're saying, man.
all right,
There's
go.
a link in
I'm
chat
sorry.
here. There's a link in chat here. And if you remember the last time, I posted you a link to Clues forums in September Clues.
Yeah,
Did you
I'm
look at that?
presenting it. I have been for a while. It's just a forum.
Right. I'm not saying everything there is
you're
true, but
presenting
there is
Arwen?
evidence collected, Arwen. I am on a different path here. And as I said, just
Oh,
one minute.
No, this is your link. This is the link you posted.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a forum.
It's a research forum. Is that no good to you, Arwen? Is that?
Well, could you be more specific?
Sorry,
perhaps?
what's the
of Eric
evidence on it?
Dubé? What do you think of Eric Dubé, Arwen? Is he honest?
IFRS, isn't this Eric Dubé shit?
So is Eric Dubé honest? Yes or no,
question.
Chocolate?
I
It's
don't
all
know.
right. You've
I
got
got a
your way,
question.
Pete. It's on screen now. So tell
Thank
us
you.
what the evidence is. All I see is a list of names and a title. So what's the actual evidence that's provided on
Right,
this
it's
site?
gone. You pick. Maybe you're there, Nathan. I haven't visited that place in ages, but as I said, maybe you're there.
So you're saying we should just
This
go
is
there?
this is a baller technique.
We might find it.
So you're getting us
So
to go
Nathan,
through
what do you
it.
think of Eric Dubé?
I rest my case.
So no.
So what do you? Can I get an opinion?
Stop
what do you think
asking
of Eric
me
Dubé?
what I think of Eric Dubé. Let's try and
Make
be
it stop. Please,
concise.
somebody make this stop.
No. Pete, we've
I
got
agree,
your
I agree.
evidence
What's your
for
problem
paid
here? You talk
shills and
about shit
people
all
put in
the
place.
time.
Right, it's your last chance, Pete. Shut your pie hole. I'm talking.
You
So-
go fuck yourself, you little shit. You little prick.
Why are you swearing at me?
That's
You
fucking-
obnoxious,
Get
foul-mouthed
the fuck
man.
out.
Why are you shouting at me? We've got your evidence for your bullshit claim on screen. Oh, he's gone. He's going to drop when we actually get to a list of names with no evidence attached. Literally none.
Well,
It's just
to be
a
honest, in
claim
his
like
defense, mate,
peas
I
with
kicked
the
him
same
because he's
level of
literally-
evidence, i.e. none. Hey,
In his
P.
defense, Nathan, I kicked him because he was just becoming a dick. and I think there's better conversations that we can have. Nathan, would you mind looking on Skype and just presenting and playing the file? It's only about 10 seconds long.
You kicked him because he was speaking the truth.
Because he has zero evidence. P Mars, what are you doing?
That's not true. Pete's right. You guys are all.
So what evidence have you got?
Can you point
You have that
specific
evidence, Pete? You got that?
Right. What I want to do
No,
is
right?
change.
Oh, okay.
What I want to do here is I want to change the topic of conversation, because this is a useless piece of crap conversation, right?
It is.
Are you
I
there?
agree completely.
Yeah, I have
honestly,
a bunch of videos.
He is lying anyway. I know it. I mean, he is just acting, and he doesn't. I don't think he believes the Earth is flat at all.
Are you being
Yeah, I
serious?
don't either. I don't either.
About Nathan,
I've watched him
about
for
Nathan,
years.
yes. I don't believe Nathan believes the Earth is flat.
I don't think he cares. I don't think he really cares.
Yeah.
Right. So is Zinder on the panel now?
Yeah, I'm here.
Right. So did you hear what was just being played while everyone else was chatting?
Yeah, I got the message.
You
that
made
I
an
said
assertion.
that I don't believe Nathan thinks the Earth is flat.
Well, you actually said that you think he's lying, right? That's not just
That would imply him lying. Like
No, it's an
when he
expre-
comes
you
here
actually
and
expressly said that
Hey,
he was
Larry.
lying.
Sorry, can you say hello to our new guest? Hey, Larry.
yeah, I mean that's not even the
hold
first
on.
time I said it. I think I even said that once on the panel.
Sure, but this is like Pete Shea, when Pete Shea says that that he thinks that people get paid, right? Which may well be true, but he can't prove it. I'm going to ask the same of you. Have you got any evidence that shows Nathan to be dishonest?
Well, I can see him acting sometimes, like he actually follows the pattern from like this calm thing and then tries to bait someone and then he
That's
starts
not what I
shouting at him.
That's
This
not
is
what I-
just completely
You mean
acting, dude.
debating tactics.
It's not what I
realize
asked.
he is an
Yeah,
actor.
Yes,
but
that's-
Hang on. Stop. The question I asked
That's
was,
not lies.
do
That's
you have any evidence that supports the idea that Nathan is trying to deceive people?
no evidence, but I think that's kind of obvious to everyone with a brain.
Really?
So
Oh
without-
my god.
So another assertion without any evidence whatsoever that Nathan's trying to deceive anybody about his views on the shape of the Earth. How credible is that a position to take, given that we just had the same conversation with Pete Shea?
Well, I mean, you brought it up, so I have no evidence for it directly. But
you said it though, right?
I said it, yeah.
So
This is just my opinion, because I don't believe any word he says. I never did.
Well, you're entitled to your opinion, but that's different to Pete Shea that asserts that it's true. So I can accept that that's your opinion, that you think Nathan's dishonest and you think that he's deceiving people about what the real shape of the Earth is. But let's just everybody be aware that this is just your opinion and you have no evidence to support it.
Yeah, I agree. I have no evidence to support it. And
Now, for the benefit of the audience, notice that he accepts that that's only his opinion and he has no evidence, whereas Pete Shea didn't accept that he had no evidence and he demanded that we all accept that it was true.
I mean,
Exactly.
this is like
Wasted an hour.
just a
I think
show.
at one point Pete did sort of concede, but then he sort of got pissed off and just kept talking about it.
Yeah, I mean, that's just like a giant show. I mean, seriously, most people don't even take anything serious that is said here.
200 people watching though, right?
Yeah, I think half of them don't take it even serious at all. The people
But
who
they're still here, Zinder.
yeah,
Still here. They're
Wouldn't
still
that
listening.
mean that you're wasting your time?
am I? I mean,
Well,
I'm having fun.
Zinder's here just to work on his English skills.
I'm really having fun here. Why am I wasting time?
So there's nothing wrong with that.
No, I'm with you. I just wanted to address why you thought that Nathan was being dishonest in any way. But I'm happy with the explanation you gave that you have no evidence to support it. It's just your opinion.
Yeah, I can't give you my opinion. Of course, I have no evidence. I watched, I compared it to the earlier shows, and the shift in character and everything.
Yeah.
Zinder,
Kind
you
of
see that-
leads to my conclusion
Yeah,
that
but-
he had to change something to
That's right. And
get
if you
more
ask-
money for his show.
Zinder, if you
So-
ask Nathan what was the paradigm shift that he had, he'll be able to pinpoint it precisely because it was to do with a conversation that I had with him that was to do with obfuscation. So why don't you ask him what was the change?
Well, I know that you had the conversation with him from another person, like after show 75 or so. It changed, right?
Yeah, there was a point where a guy called Hank had Paper Explanator up against the corner, and he was battering him. And what happened was Hank was managed to obfuscate the point so much that Paper Explanator was able to obfuscate the point so much that Hank got lost with where he was at, and the point then failed. But Hank should have won that point, but for the obfuscation tactics that Paper Explanator had introduced. And I'd said to Nathan, why did you let that happen when Hank was just about to win the point? We're the minority here. Why should, if there's a valid point there, don't let the point get obfuscated. Let's get closure on a point. And that's why we always try and get closure so that points can be conceded or won. That's the whole point of a debate. It shouldn't be the case that it's allowed to be obfuscated so that the point never gets closed. But you've interpreted that change of paradigm to be Nathan's become an actor. But actually, it's Nathan's become good at what not that he was bad, but Nathan's become more astute and wise to what's going on. These points are being obfuscated, and that's why we kick people out. But that doesn't make him an actor. It doesn't make him dishonest. It just means that these people are being shown to be the dishonest people that they actually are. They can't prove curve. They can't prove axial rotation. They must rumpus the hangout because they can't ever admit that they've got shit all evidence. But that doesn't make him an agent. It doesn't make him dishonest. It doesn't make him lying.
Perhaps, well, I honestly, yep. Please go on.
But perhaps it's your interpretation that's the issue here, rather than what you've told people in the hangout that came from.
My interpretation of people being dishonest who come here is to address that thing first of all. Is I don't see any problem with people being dishonest on this panel because it's a completely dishonest debate after all. So who cares? I mean, this is just a show, and the more ballers who come here, who make those claims that kind of can't go through anyway because of the way the debate works right now. Are just good for the show, so Nathan gets more money. It is. I mean, everyone knows it.
So what you're doing is you're applying. Hang on. What you're doing is you're applying a logical and reasonable interpretation to actually come to the conclusion that Nathan's somehow lying about his position. But actually, what we're showing is that these people are charlatans, and that's the real position. That is the conversation we had, and that is the reason for the paradigm shift. He did change his position. He started out being totally neutral, and basically the ballers were able to be more astute mentally, and they were able to obfuscate points that they were going to lose to try and make themselves look credible. I'll give you another example. Brandon Toy, he was in with GeoStreamer. It wasn't on Nathan's channel, it was on GeoStreamer's channel. But Brandon, literally, you could see the cogs turn in his head, and he realized that they were applying a reification fallacy. And he was just about to make the point, and the rumpus had to rumpus the hangout to the point where GeoStreamer actually kicked his own member because he rumpus the hangout. But when you realize, if you play that scene back where Brandon Toy was just about to move in for the kill on the point being made, you realize that Rumpus was committing a tactical foul, even though he knew that he was going to get kicked. He got kicked for one. He took one for the team. Now, everybody that saw that hangout realizes that that's what happened. Brandon realized that's what happened. Dumbo GeoStreamer didn't. He didn't know what was going on. But this is an example where they will literally rumpus points that they know that they can't win on rather than concede. Now, ultimately, if there's a debate, what would you rather watch if you were an impartial watcher? Would you rather watch never get a conclusion put on a point, or would you rather get an attempt at trying to get it down to a yes or a no, a black or a white, an in or an out? Because that's what we're trying to achieve. If there's evidence to support a position and we can conclude the point, even if it's crappy evidence and we get it going against us, we have to conclude the point if we can, because that's the debate. But that doesn't mean that he's dishonest, and it doesn't mean he's trying to deceive anybody. So I would say that your perception is based on your own ignorance, because even though you know the answer really, because you've been told it before, you've now gone out and told people that you think that Nathan's a liar, but you haven't got any evidence for it, and it's based on logic and reason. And that, my friend, is the problem with logic and reason. Everybody's got a little bit of logic and reason, haven't they? But the actual evidence, if you ask him, he'll tell you.
Yeah. I mean, after, I don't know how long did you speak, like 8 minutes or so, I don't know, 5 minutes. After all this word salad, you really think that this kind of convinces me that either you or Nathan are serious about this stuff?
So do you think I give my time up for free for shits and giggles?
No, you don't give your time up. You give your time up to troll people first of all. You
He's a
like
bit
to troll.
dull.
You like to, or you already said in one hangout, I think, you just like to troll Globers, right?
I do. I admit that. I admit that these guys are capable of being trolled, and I do admit to it. I enjoyed the debate. I enjoyed.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, one is this thing, and the other thing, I mean, people are giving money to the super chat. People are hitting the super chat, so it works right now. If people wouldn't do it anymore, the show wouldn't exist anymore.
Right, but does that mean that my intentions are questionable because I enjoy the debate? Is there anything that you've seen that's deceptive on my part when we're arguing things like gravity or axial rotation, gas pressure? Is there anything in there that makes you think that I am in some way dishonest or lying or whatever?
Yeah, I think most of the time I talk to you, I feel like I'm talking to a kind of an actor.
Okay, so let's do the gravity thing then. Let's talk gravity for a minute, and we'll just see where the bit is that makes you think that I'm in some way being dishonest or acting. So gravity, right? We've been through the Cavendish experiment how many times?
Oh yeah, sure. The Cavendish experiment where you can't manipulate gravity because gravity isn't capable of being manipulated.
Correct.
And
you don't see a problem.
So
with
this is where like the argument can't go further. I mean, it doesn't matter at this point. It doesn't even matter if the Earth is.
Au contraire,
at this point, it doesn't even matter anymore if the Earth is a globe or if it's flat or if it's convex or if it's concave or if it is penis shaped at all.
Au contraire, my friend. Au contraire. It's not a moot point. If you're not able to manipulate your independent variable in a scientific experiment, the thing that you're doing falls outside of science, and it becomes pseudoscience by virtue of the fact that it becomes a correlation. You're not manipulating it to prove that it's a cause. You're just correlating what you perceive to be a cause as a cause, but it's not proven. So it's not moot. It's not something that we can't go any further. We kill the point. You can't manipulate gravity. Therefore, you can't prove it within science. You can believe it as a correlation outside of science if you wish. But remember, it's quantified to be 50 millionth of the object's weight by Cavendish himself. So if you want to believe that you've just seen 50 millionth of the object's weight in this experiment, then you can believe that. But it's not science.
I'm not saying I'm believing anything, but I'm just saying you are creating the argument or you're manipulating your understanding of the subject so that it is impossible to get any evidence through. And I mean, you are talking about science and stuff, yet you have zero idea what it is. I neither really do.
What do you have to do to know science then, Zinder?
Sorry, we were all taught science in school.
So you want scientific evidence.
Sorry,
right?
Zinder, we were all taught science in school. The scientific method was taught to all of us. This is 5th grade level understanding to challenge the validity based on the scientific method. So we have been taught this. That's incorrect. I would like to ask you a question, though. Now, I'm obviously assuming that your model with your, underneath that's antimatter, that's just a joke, right? That's just a laugh, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, this was kind of a joke, of course.
So it's kind of
I don't really believe it.
Sure. So you don't really believe it, making it an act, correct?
Yeah, it just was having fun.
It's okay. I just need you to nod along, Zinder. So, in the most literal sense of the word, you are projecting your own digressions onto me. You are very literally coming here to act and pretend that you believe something you do not, while simultaneously telling an audience of people that that's what I'm doing. So what you're actually doing, Zinder, is projecting.
What am I projecting?
Do you want me to explain it again? No problem. I understand.
The
people when they're faced with their own nonsense, sometimes it takes a few moments for it to sink in. You're accusing me of pretending to not believe the thing that I am portraying, and we've just got an absolute concrete assertion from you that that is precisely what you are doing, Zinder. So what you are doing is telling an audience that that's what I'm doing, when in actuality it is what you are doing. That is called projection, Zinder. Do
Well, I don't
you
deny
understand? I said it a little bit slower the second time.
Yeah, Nathan, he said he doesn't deny it.
I don't
Right.
deny.
So
that
you're
I
projecting.
Was just joking about
so you're
my
projecting
model.
your own issues onto me, then, Zinder. How unbelievably pathetic. Maybe you should go away and face your own demons rather than projecting them onto me.
Let's quantify this, because what he's admitting to is he's admitting that he's actually being two-faced and double-fronted. The exact thing that you're accusing Nathan of.
About the stupid complex Earth?
And me. But the thing is, neither of us are actually fronting. Yes, there is an element of bravado and showmanship on the show. It is a debate show. There is an element of it that you have to playboat, you have to showboat. However, it doesn't detract from the point. You guys can't prove the bullshit that you believe to be true. So whether or not it's an act in terms of the show itself doesn't mean that we're not pushing forward the position that we actually maintain, which is that you guys can't prove your case.
What case is to be proven?
That we live on a spinning testicle that orbits the sun.
You're a baller, Zinder.
Am I? Are you sure?
Do you believe in gravity?
Why should I? Well, there is a downward force, of course.
Really? Can you prove it?
Well, this makes logical sense at all, but I'm
Who cares about logic and reason?
Yeah, who cares about logic and reason, since we are on the Flat Earth debate show, right?
It's about evidence, though, right? It's about what you can prove. It's not what you believe, not what you can logically and reasonably assume. It's what you can prove.
Yeah.
Right. So can you prove this downward force?
Well, when I let something go, it falls down. So there is
and
a downward force. Every
millionth
action has.
Come on, Zinder. 1/50 millionth of that thing that you're letting go is attributable to gravity. The rest of it's down to its own density.
I know there is a downward acceleration of 9.81 meters per second squared. So if it was relative density when I let something go in a almost vacuum with 1,000 air molecules, and then the stone is like 1 million times more dense.
Yeah, exactly.
Then it should accelerate 1 million times faster. So it would touch the ground immediately. It wouldn't go down at 9.81 meters per second squared. And that the fact that I have to explain it to you shows to me that you don't believe this shit with relative density. Because either, sorry, Riley, either you are acting right now, or you are really that stupid to believe that relative density is the thing that causes things to fall down. I don't know what of those the real thing is.
Well,
but
I accept that there's no evidence to prove that this 50 million to 1 force that you worship to believe to be there, I accept that there's no evidence to prove that this is true. However, I don't make the argument that 9.8 meters per second squared is some kind of adamant proof of anything. I accept that there's a rate there. Why it's 9.8 rather than 15.2 or 6.7, who cares? It's not my assertion. My assertion is that you can't prove your gravity. So I'm not asked about the 9.8 meters per second squared because it's not my claim. My claim is clear. You can't prove your 50 millionth of a force against any matter object at all. That's my claim.
Yeah, okay? It's kind of like just ignorance from you that comes up with it. I didn't even mention the Cavendish and mass attracts mass yet.
It's not ignorance.
I'm just talking about a downward force.
Yeah,
you are coming up with 150. Why do you come up with the one in, what was it, 50 million?
I don't come up with that. That's what science tells me it is.
But I didn't even mention that.
Sorry, okay, Zinder, no problem. Sorry, Anthony, let me just interrupt for 1 second.
Excuse for it.
Sorry,
I'm not defending the
Zinder, the original question was, what evidence do you have for your downward force?
Yeah, as I said before, that when the relative density is 5 million times stronger, it still falls down at 9.81 meter per second squared.
Straw man argument, though. I'm not asked about the rate. I'm asking for the proof of the force.
Well, have you ever seen something moving without applying force to it?
That's not asking or inciting a question for him. He's saying, what evidence do you have for the force? Can you answer that specifically, please, Zinder?
Yeah, things falling down. Yeah. That's the evidence.
But remember scale. You understand what scale means, right? We expect that things fall and they appear to be down, but you're attributing that movement to be by a force that only represents a 50 millionth of the object's the weight of the object.
I'm not talking about. Yeah.
I'm asking you, what about the other 449,999,49999? What about the rest of it that's down to the density? And let's remember that Cavendish said it's not more than 50 million to 1. So this little force that Cavendish tells us is basically microscopic. I want to know how that accounts for 9.8 meters per second squared, because I say it doesn't exist.
I'm not talking about Newtonian gravity. I'm not talking about Einstein's gravity. I'm just talking about a downward force. It doesn't have to be with
science.
mass attracting mass.
No, you can't pick and choose what science you accept. It's quantified by science, and you've got to accept it if you believe it.
Oh, what did you say? You can't pick and choose what science do you accept?
Yes, that's your narrative.
Isn't it what the show is all about?
Not on your side, no. On our side, yeah. But not on your side. You've got to accept
picking and choosing what science is about is kinda what this whole show is about. It is so funny hearing it from your mouth.
Let me restate it. You didn't get it, obviously.
Yeah.
You can't pick and choose the science that you accept. You've got to push the official narrative at all times. And the official narrative at all times is the bending of space-time is gravity, and that's a mathematical construct. And maths doesn't prove anything. That is your position. That is your science, and you can't detract from it because you're on their side of the fence. However, we question that. So we can detract from it because that is the point. But you can't. So when you say there is a downward force and I ask you for evidence for it, you've got to quantify that with science. So what science is there that there's a downward force, please?
Well, as I said, I'm not talking about scientific stuff because I'm not talking about Newtonian's gravity and not talking about Einstein's gravity.
That's our point, Zinder.
I'm just saying it can't be relative density.
So you say, but if you're not talking about science, we are talking about science because that's what we're told.
So prove relative density scientifically why things fall down, and please give me the scale, give me the rate, and give me predictions. Please go on. If we are talking about science.
So what you've just done there is to reverse the burden of proof fallacy. I don't have to prove that relative density is. I've just got to get you to prove that it is basically the way you tell us, and I want to see the proof of this downward accelerating force that you claim exists. We know that it's a 50 millionth or not more than 50 millionth. And I say that that's nowhere near strong enough to do anything. You would never, ever notice it ever. But you believe it's there. And you're the one that projects that I'm the one that's being dishonest or playing a role or whatever. So what is it? Am I playing a role right now by showing that you don't actually have any evidence to support your position? Or is it actually the case that you don't actually have any evidence to support your position and you just believe it anyway?
I am for the super chat. Thank you very much.
Yeah, Anthony. Everything I observe, everything in my life, everything I do, when I apply a force to an object, it moves. If I don't, it doesn't move. There is no object, nothing moves without applying force to it. Yeah, so now prove, Andy, prove to me that relative density can move things without applying force to it, because the only way to move things is by applying force to it.
But again, you're moving away from the assertion that you've got to prove. You've got to prove that there is a force there, right? And you can't. And the only way you can do that is to detract away from that point and try and get me to do something. No, you're the one that believes there's a downward acceleration force. I'm asking you to prove it, and you can't prove it, and you won't admit that you can't prove it, and you'll project that in some way I'm acting.
It doesn't have to do anything with acting right now anymore.
Right. So I'm not acting now.
No, you are acting, of course, but
no, you are.
You acting doesn't have anything to do with it.
Let's just get that clear, Zinder. We tied that down earlier. Just to get that clear again, we got the concession, and you admitted you were acting, playing a role of somebody who believes something he didn't actually believe in. That's you, not us. So let's just get that shit put to bed immediately. You are guilty of that. We're not.
Well, making a joke about convex Earth, yeah, sure.
Yeah, playing a little role, believing something that you don't really believe, saying things you don't actually mean. Yeah, you're an actor playing a part of a role of somebody who believes something else contrary to your own beliefs. That's you, Zinder. Yes? So the thing you've just said that we all do, we don't. You do that thing. Not us.
So Zinder, you know when you said Pete, when we
you do.
Listen, when we said Pete,
sorry, you're gonna get kicked out. What do you mean? You know you do? Is this projection again? You pathetic little man. So no, Zinder. No, Zinder, I'm talking. No need to get triggered while I point it out to the pathetic weasel that you are for the third time. We have conclusively shown on this show, by your own admission, you are playing a part. You are acting. You are putting across views that you don't actually believe in. We're not doing that. Contrary to what you've just stated for the second time, this is the third time I've pointed out that you are guilty of these crimes and not us. Despite the fact that you've gone on someone else's show and actually verbally accused me of it, even though you are absolutely guilty of it.
Yeah, I admit it, but I don't...
Yeah, so you're a pathetic weasel. Yes, you admit that you are guilty of the crimes you have accused me of. Yeah? So I'd like an apology. Now.
How are those crimes?
I'd like an apology for your accusations and projections of your own digressions onto me. I'd like an apology, given that you have admitted this to be a fact on this very show.
Yeah. I've seen your video talking about the rats, and that you are a good actor, I have to say. Did you miss it?
Sorry, so this is a weasel move from Zinder the weasel. Pathetic, no humility, just like Pete. You're a pretty pathetic individual, Zinder. So you're not going to apologise for your absolute and unequivocal projection of your own digression onto me? You're not going to apologise for that, even though we've conclusively, by your own words, proven that to be the case.
You were a salesman, right?
Oh, here we go, another distraction. So you are a weasel and a pathetic individual like Pete, and you have no humility to admit, again, even though I tentatively got the admission initially because I'm smart, unlike you, brain-dead weasel. Yeah, you laugh it up, weasel. Laugh it up.
Yeah.
Laugh it up. You're a weasel. You're a pathetic man. You've got no humility. The amount of times we on this panel as flat earthers have made concessions where we make mistakes. Yeah? You, pathetic individual that you are, can't even make the concession after it's been dragged out on this very show. You are an actor playing a part to deceive people who listen to you into believing things that you don't believe. That's you, Zinder, by your own admission. And you have projected that onto me even now. And you won't apologise. You won't concede. That's because you're pathetic. You're a weasel. You should be ashamed. You've got no humility, though, have you?
Hey, Zinder, go fuck yourself, burn in hell, you fucking cunt.
Shut up.
No need.
Give me a minute. All right, I admit I am guilty of trying to deceive people that the Earth is actually convex. I'm sorry of it. I will never do it again. I know there are people who actually could have believed that the Earth is convex.
Yeah, you've also accused me of it.
I am admitting right now.
Please stop muting him, whoever's muting him.
Not you, Nathan,
Don't
the
mute
Daniel
him.
guy.
Yeah, we know that, Zinder. We know that unequivocally. The other problem is that you've also accused me of it.
Oh, yeah, because I think it is true.
But it's true of you. That's the admission you've just given. I'm not admitting it. You have no proof of it. It's not true. But you are guilty of it. That's called projection. Fourth time I've gone through this with you. And you're a pathetic weasel who can't admit this. You're just projecting what you do onto me.
It's not necessarily projection.
Shut up.
It isn't projection.
Shut up. Larry, shut your stupid pie hole.
You can both be guilty of the same thing.
So, Zinder, what's the difference between Pete Shea that wouldn't admit he had no evidence to prove his assertions, his baseless assertions against A, B, or C being a troll or paid agent or whatever? What's the difference between him and what you're doing right now? You haven't got any evidence of this downward acceleration force, but you also haven't got any evidence that I or Nathan are fronting in any other way than because we think that you can't prove your claim. What's the difference between you and Pete?
The difference is that I'm sorry, Pete, but he is kinda, if he is really serious, he is a mentally ill person. And instead of let me finish, instead of seeking like professional help, he comes here and feeds from the bullshit you guys are telling him. It is really unhealthy, guys. Are you ashamed of it? Really? Are you fucking ashamed of it that you destroy people's lives?
My question has not been answered. I asked you what.
Actually, he's the one who's feeding people bullshit.
My question's not been answered, Zinda. My question is, what is the difference between you and Pete Shea?
Yeah, the difference is that I was joking when I talked about convex.
Not about that.
The guy, he actually believes it.
Not about that. I'll be specific. You can't prove that there is a downward acceleration force, and you've got no gravity for it. It's a baseless assertion that you believe but cannot prove. Even with science, you can't prove it. What's the difference between you applying that nonsense to science and Pete Shea applying his nonsense to whatever he applies it to?
Yeah, I mean, you just don't accept that a gravity is a thing. It doesn't mean...
Right, you haven't answered my question. What is the difference between you and Pete Shea in this context?
What? I mean, the difference that Pete is accusing people and talking nonsense in your eye towards people talking about gravity is this...
What's the difference?
Are you serious about
I'm absolutely serious. What's the difference between you and Pete Shea with baseless assertions that you can't prove?
The difference is that my assertion, as you called it, about the downward force is real, and people can prove it to you easily by letting things fall to the ground.
So your answer
is it so complicated?
That doesn't prove gravity.
Right, let's go through the panel and let's see how credible that answer is, right? You were asked what is the difference between you and P with baseless assertions, and your answer is your assertion about downwards acceleration or whatever is real. Is there anybody on this panel that thinks that this assertion that Zinda's just made, that his thing is actually real? Does anybody accept that?
No. Plus, I want to ask him, what makes you think, Cinder, that things are gonna float if you let them go from your hand?
Fall, not float.
No. Stay like. What makes you think?
Because you believe in gravity. If there were no gravity, you think things would float, right?
But why do you need gravity? So I don't know.
Let's keep to the downward force. All right, let's not
what downward force? Hold on, stop. What downward force? Some bullshit ad hoc nonsense you've made up. What's Zinda's downward force?
9.81 meter per second squared is a acceleration, which is a force.
That's lovely. So that's a mathematical measurement for acceleration. Where's the evidence of the downward force? Not a mathematical equation. Evidence.
Things falling down.
Yeah, but
sorry. Hold on. Helium balloon. So that falls at 9.8 meters per second squared. Does it? Helium balloon, Zinda?
Yeah, put it in a vacuum chamber and it will fall out at 9.81 meter per second squared.
Yeah, in a vacuum chamber. Hold on. Hold on. Earlier you said it was relative density. You had that as part of your explanation. So what's it relative to in a vacuum?
I said it doesn't match with relative density. It wasn't a part of my explanation.
Sorry, what's it relative to in a vacuum?
The few air molecules that are still in the vacuum.
Sorry, Zinda, a vacuum is the absence of that. So I'll ask for a third time. What's it relative to?
Nothing. But this doesn't exist.
Oh, sorry, where does that happen, Zinda? Where does that nothing occur?
It doesn't exist. Nothing.
Oh, so we're not talking. Oh, so we're not talking about natural phenomena here. So we're just talking about nonsense. It all sounded very scientific when you put it in a vacuum chamber until I point out that that's not very scientific. Then suddenly it's a big groan from Zinda as we demolish his nonsense of a downward force at 9.8 meters per second squared. That he's got no evidence of the force, but he's got evidence that things fall when they are more dense than the medium they're in. But what he can do is simultaneously remove the medium and then claim that he's got a victory. Right, Zinda?
Oh, we are talking about natural phenomena now?
That's what science is, yes. So, what's your science for your downward acceleration? You give me maths. And when I ask for science, you say put it in a vacuum chamber and remove the relative medium that the thing's in.
Now we are back to the stupid definition of natural phenomena. All right.
Can I ask a question?
This is so funny, dude.
Electricity in a vacuum chamber.
Can I ask a question?
Go ahead.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Hey, Cinder, I want to know how many people has done this on vacuum thing, or you're just basing it on that YouTube video that they, or the TV show that they put. Is every single one of you basing that vacuum thing based on that show?
What show? What show do you mean?
There's like a TV episode where they put the feathers with the bowling ball and in a big ass chamber of vacuum.
It wasn't on TV, no. It's a YouTube channel. I've seen it.
Okay,
Yeah.
So my question is every single one of you is basing that assertion based on that episode, or does anybody else has done that?
Well, there are many people who can build a vacuum chamber, so I can show you one person who did that, for example.
Okay, but what are you manipulating in a vacuum chamber, though?
It's still full of electricity.
I'm taking away air, so it becomes almost a vacuum.
So you're manipulating the density of the medium.
Right? Yes.
Okay, so that's your cause for the things either falling at a certain rate or not.
Alan.
No, it isn't.
You understand the independent variable, right?
So your independent variable is the medium that you're removing, air. And that would be your presumed cause if this is to be claimed to be scientific. But you're now saying no.
Well, me removing the air doesn't really have to do with anything. I could go on Mount Everest and I wouldn't manipulate anything, yet the density changes.
Sorry, that sounds like
density.
Sorry, Cinder, that sounds like I could not do the example that I've given you now that you've picked it apart, and I can now move it to Everest. So why were you telling us about a vacuum chamber then? Because it seems that when we pick it apart and point out that if you're varying the atmosphere that it's in, the medium, then that would be your variable. And upon that, you've now moved it away from the vacuum chamber that you introduced and put it on Everest. That seems very disingenuous, like a typical glober.
I just pointed out that me removing the air doesn't have anything to do with the falling object.
Sorry, Cinder. Cinder. Let me just point out. It was you who put the example in a vacuum chamber, and it was you who removed the air, and now it's you who's saying that that's not important. So why the hell are you telling us about it then, Cinder? Are you delusional? Slightly insane? Do you tell us about things that are not relevant often for no reason? It makes no sense that you would tell us to put it in a vacuum chamber, remove the air, and then tell us that that's not necessary or needed. Are you stupid?
It isn't needed for things to fall down.
I understand. You've explained after telling us to put it in a vacuum chamber that it's not needed to put in a vacuum chamber. So why did you put it in a vacuum chamber then, you utter retard?
To illustrate how stupid your relative density.
Oh, really? What? How stupid it is by removing the relative density factor of it? So you're saying you can make a mockery of relative density by removing relative density. That sounds very disingenuous.
By removing air so that it is like...
Yeah, you've now substituted the word density for the word air. Yeah, that's what you did. You took us into a vacuum chamber, you removed the air, now you're saying, given that we've pointed out that that would be your independent variable, if you're going to claim this is science, that would mean that you've removed the relative density while you rumpus me. Yet we're just taking a dump on your crap argument, Cinder. And it seems that while you go around projecting your own dishonesty and disingenuous nature onto me, you also simultaneously cling to the crappiest of globe proofs that there are, with no evidence, and we pick them apart daily with the same arguments you've sat through on multiple occasions. So you're just doubling down, trying to reaffirm your own belief in this crap, even though we can pick it apart and do with the same exact things every time. What's wrong with you?
Oh, now you let me speak. Perfect. I pointed out the vacuum chamber to illustrate how stupid your argument with a relative density is.
Yeah, and I've said already, you're removing the aspect of relativity when you remove the density of the medium it's in. That's what makes it relative density. So you're going to remove all aspects of it to make it look silly? No, You're just removing all aspects of it. You're doing something totally different. You're no longer assessing relative density because it's no longer relative to anything. You've removed it. So you're not making a humiliation of relative density by removing the very aspect that makes it relative. That's you being a disingenuous globehead with no evidence for a force. None of this proves the force you claimed. That was the whole point of this conversation, to prove a force. All you've done is taken us around the Reekin, putting us in a vacuum chamber, removing the air, telling us that proves something, and when we pick it apart, telling us that actually you're making a mockery of relative density by removing the aspect of relative density. Well done. Do you think you've achieved something, Zinder?
Alright, the only thing the vacuum chamber proves is... No, the only thing it just disproves that relative density is the cause why things fall down. It doesn't prove gravity. It just shows. Are you with me?
Yeah, that's our point. It shows that when you remove the density, everything falls at the same rate because it's no longer relative to the thing it's in. That's our point. I mean, are you really descending into the level of putting our own point repackaged back to us like it's a defence? Oh my God, Zinder, you've regressed further and quicker than any single globehead I have ever encountered in this entire debate. And with that, I'll say first and foremost a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of the debating panel, including the most disingenuous person on there, Zinder. Thank you very much indeed. Also a massive thank you to all of the live audience for tuning in and hopefully sharing this debate. If you're watching this on Nathan Oakley 1980 channel, stay tuned as you'll get the after show once the credits roll. But if you're not and you're watching this live, I'll say once more, I've been Nathan Oakley and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!